Today, we're going to talk about a man whose story is so important to Canadian history that they actually named an entire mountain after him. Yep, a mountain. Let's dive into the incredible journey of a true pioneer named Manzo Nagano.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It must take a pretty amazing person, a really special story, to have a whole mountain carry your name, right?
Well, that's exactly who we're talking about today. Meet Manzo Nagano. His journey from Japan all the way to Canada, it's more than just an adventure. It's a huge piece of how Canada came to be what it is today.
Okay, so every great journey has a beginning. And for Manzo Nagano, his story doesn't start in the forests of Canada, but way across the Pacific Ocean, in Japan.
So, Manzo Nagano was born around 1855 in a town right on the coast of Japan. He was a skilled guy, trained as a carpenter, but the world he was growing up in was changing, like really fast. Japan was starting to open up to the rest of the world, and for a young guy like Manzo, that meant big new ideas and maybe, just maybe, a future somewhere totally different. Now, when we talk about why people move to a new country, there's this really cool idea called push and pull factors. It sounds complicated, but it's super simple. Push factors are things that kind of push you away from your home. And pull factors? Those are the exciting things that pull you toward a new place.
So for Manzo, what was going on? Well, all the big changes happening in Japan were a push factor. It was maybe a little uncertain there. But Canada? Whoa, that was a huge pull factor. A brand new country with new jobs, a ton of adventure, and this amazing chance to build something completely your own.
So with that push from behind and this massive pull from ahead, Manzo Nagano made a really brave choice. He decided he was going to do it. He was going to cross the giant Pacific Ocean to a country he had never even seen before.
1877. This is it. This is the year that changes everything for him.
In 1877, when he was only about 22 years old, Manzo Nagano landed in British Columbia. Can you imagine? Some people even say he snuck onto a British ship as a stowaway. That's how much he wanted to get here.
So by making this trip, Manzo officially became an immigrant. An immigrant is just someone who moves to a new country to start a new life. And here's the really amazing part. Manzo Nagano is believed to be one of the very first Japanese immigrants to ever make a permanent home in Canada. A true trailblazer.
Showing up in a new country with pretty much nothing in your pockets, that's got to be incredibly scary. But Manzo wasn't just a hard worker. He had this spirit, this drive. He immediately started looking for ways to do more than just get by. He wanted to build something real.
And his first jobs were seriously tough. He was out on the Fraser River as a salmon fisherman, and he worked as a longshoreman, which means he was loading huge, heavy pieces of lumber onto ships. This was hard, physical work, but hey, it was a start.
But Manzo had much bigger dreams. He was a natural entrepreneur. You know, that's someone who sees an opportunity and just creates a business out of thin air.
And just look at what he did. He moved to Victoria, and his business brain just took over. He opened a store selling things from Japan. Then he started a hotel. And he even connected his new home with his old one by starting a business that shipped Canadian salmon all the way back to Japan. Incredible.
Now, it's really important to know that Manzo's story wasn't just one success after another. His life in Canada had some really difficult times too. You see, building a life was hard work. And back in those days, a lot of new immigrants, especially people from Asia, faced unfair treatment and racism. It was a sad part of our history, and it made chasing your dreams that much harder. On top of all that, Manzo faced some really tough personal challenges. He got very sick with an illness called tuberculosis. And then, in 1922, a terrible fire burned down his businesses. It destroyed everything he had worked so hard to build. And after losing it all, he made the heartbreaking choice to go back to Japan.
But his story does not end there. Not even close. In fact, maybe the most powerful part of his story is how we remember him today, long after he was gone.
This timeline kind of shows his whole life at a glance. You can see the big moments. Born in Japan, came to Canada, built all these amazing businesses, and then lost it all. But look at that very last date on the timeline. Something amazing happened, long after his story seemed to be over.
1977. That year marks exactly 100 years since Manzo Nagano first arrived in Canada. And to mark that 100-year anniversary, Canada did something truly special. They officially named a mountain in British Columbia Mount Manzo Nagano.
The man who arrived with nothing now has a permanent, powerful place in the Canadian landscape. How cool is that?
And that mountain, that's his legacy. A legacy is what you leave behind for people to remember you by. And Manzo's legacy is this powerful story of a brave, determined pioneer. So why does his story still matter so much to us today? Well, because he was a pioneer. He helped pave the way for all the Japanese Canadians who came after him. His story teaches us about our own country's history, about how important diversity is, and it shows us the kind of incredible courage it takes to start all over again. So Manzo Nagano's journey was celebrated 100 years after it started, which kind of leaves us with a big question to think about. Who are the pioneers of today? What amazing stories and brave new journeys will Canadians be celebrating 100 years from now?